Part 133. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1331. After King Chiguo left, Shen'an Fairy City cooled down a little. But when Wu Yu walked around, the person he heard most people talking about was King Chiguo. Is there a 9th grade immortal king order this time? How come even the daughter of the king of the kingdom, Moug, is involved? It definitely exists. Otherwise, even if it is the 8th grade, she would probably not like it. A being like her must be equipped with the top immortal king seal. I'm so envious. She is the daughter of the 4 heavenly kings. As the king of the country, she compares with the ancient giant spirit god, or the 5 sacred emperors Zhongtian Chongsheng Emperor, Sishan Zhaosheng Emperor, etc. Let's go. Not to mention the 36 heavenly generals and immortal emperors who we can only look up to. In the past 100 years, Chang'an heaven has indeed gathered powerful people. After all, it is very likely that the Oriental Chang'an Holy Emperor will come in person. That is much more terrifying than the heavenly King Shiguo. This is natural. The only ones here who can suppress the heavenly king of the abbot are Dongfang Chang'an Holy Emperor and the Tianyu Grand Marshal from Taizhou Immortal Road. Wu Yu has learned too much about the top gods or the entire heaven these days. I have to say that there are so many top gods here. This is still the territory of immortals, such as immortal beasts, which are all located in a corner, and are also under the jurisdiction of the heaven. For example, the 9 dragon emperors are also considered to be official positions in the heaven. Roughly higher than Dratabhava. The question is, how did you get the immortal king's order during this period of time? Nowadays, those who have the immortal king's order are pretending, dare not reveal it, or even hide, while those who don't have the immortal king's order are just like me. Wandering around looking for opportunities. Wu Yu looked at the eyes of everyone around him, and he could roughly tell that many people were wandering around here for the immortal king token. Even Wu Yu, a Xian immortal, was often stared at by people who might want to take a chance on him. Actually, most of the people with the immortal king's token are hiding in the fairy city, so although the killing outside is lively, there are not many people who actually have the immortal king's token. Of course, it is easy to kill outside and there is no way to hide, so whether inside or outside the city, the chances of getting the immortal king's order are about the same, Nanshan Wanjiao said. Yazixi said, the key is that these immortal lords are too powerful. Those who have the confidence to come here are at least 5 realm immortal lords or above. The most common ones are 6 realm immortal lords and 7 realm immortal lords. This group of people have been cultivating immortals for hundreds of thousands of years, and brother, you can't deal with any of them now, even though he can't go out and take risks. Although Wu Yu has a somersault cloud, the somersault cloud is not omnipotent. If he is targeted and assassinated invisibly, it will be quite dangerous. For many top immortal kings, it is absolutely a matter of an instant to assassinate someone. In this immortal city of divine grace, the creation pill must be used everywhere, but I only have 5 of them. I can't even afford to stay in the immortal inn, so naturally I don't have a place to stay. Therefore, Wu Yu could not settle down and could only wander around the Shen'an immortal city, looking for the possibility of the immortal king's order. It would take more than a year to visit every corner of this divine city. Strange. At this time, Wu Yu walked into Yi Street and suddenly found that in this lively Shen'an fairy city, there was no one on this street. Immediately afterwards, a strong murderous intention locked onto him. He instantly realized that he was probably trapped in the autonomous world by some immortal king. Only within this autonomous world can you not see the crowd outside. This person actually wanted to deal with him in the middle of a busy city. Wu Yu knew that if he made a big noise and caused a commotion in this bustling city, he would be killed by the Emperor Immortal. Wu Yu, suddenly, a white-robed swordsman appeared on the opposite side of the street. He was holding a sharp long sword. His face was covered with some kind of magic circle. There was a symbol on his white robe. Its two swords crossed together. Wu Yu instantly understood why this person knew his name and their identities. In Dragon Emperor Purgatory, he killed a person dressed like this and even devoured him. Got his memory. He comes from an assassination organization on the 8,000 Heavenly Palace called the Immortal Killing Palace, which is quite powerful. In the Immortal Killing Palace, working for money, this person suddenly appeared and targeted Wu Yu. After confirming Wu Yu's identity, he immediately launched his killing move. Wu Yu is now well informed and knows that above this person are all immortal lords of the 5 realms or above. This is not something he can deal with. He responded quickly. At the moment when he understood the opponent's identity, he first used the exorcism technique to attack the opponent instantly, then turned back and used somersault cloud to escape from the opponent's control at lightning speed. Even so, the opponent's sword energy tore apart then. Within a short period of time, there were several blood marks on Wu Yu's body. Wu Yu appeared in another place. There were people around, and they were a little dissatisfied with his sudden appearance. Wu Yu quickly apologized and then hid in the crowd. His face looked surprised. I have only been in heaven for such a short time. Who actually spent a lot of money to hire a killer from the Immortal Killing Palace to kill me? Nanshan Wanjiao said in a deep voice, who else can it be? When you come to heaven, the first person you kill is the ancient emperor. The ancient emperor is gone, and it is impossible to have such money. Only in the immortal dragon emperor realm, you offended that Daming Longjun, it's definitely him who will disgrace him. Yezixi said, yes, it probably wasn't the decision of Tianyu Dragon King and his friends. After all, they were too lazy to use this method. However, Tianming Dragon King seems to be a man who is determined to retaliate. It should be him. Moreover, Destiny Dragon Lord also has this kind of money. This guy really can't afford to lose, Wu Yu sneered. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. However, according to the rules of the Immortal Killing Palace, if I fail once, they will continue until I die, and even change the killer. Now that they have locked me in the Divine Grace Immortal City, they can find this place so quickly, and find me among so many people, which shows that the Immortal Killing Palace is really terrible. Wu Yu frowned. This means that he will be threatened continuously in the future. You are a Xianxian now, of course it is easy to be discovered. I only see you, a Xianxian in the whole city, Nanshan Wanjiao said. It is also because of this that Wu Yu is easier to be found by the Immortal Killing Palace. It was a bit thrilling just now. If the people of the Immortal Killing Palace saw my escape method just now, they will definitely be faster, more accurate and ruthless next time. I am in the light and the enemy is in the dark. This is really troublesome. Wu Yu didn't expect that he came to find the Immortal King Order and followed such a killer behind him. This would make him very troublesome, and he could even hide. He could transform into other people, but the ones he could transform into were basically Xianxian, and they were all death row prisoners, which was quite conspicuous in the Shenan Immortal City. Yezixi asked, brother, can you send a message to the 3 Dragon Kings and tell them that Tianming hired a killer to kill you, and forced Tianming to cancel it? Wu Yu thought about it and shook his head and said, forget it, don't let her worry about me, and Tianming will definitely not admit it. At most, Tianyu Dragon King and the others will scold him a few words. Mainly, I don't want to worry about Lupin. If she knew that she was followed by a killer at any time, she would probably be unable to sleep or eat. Shenan Immortal City is so big, it's not that bad. At least if I was always in the crowd, the other party would not dare to make a move. Just now I walked to a remote place by myself, giving the other party a chance to make a move. In fact, in a place like now, the surroundings are bustling, there are people everywhere, and they are all observing each other, so the other party can't make a move at all. Once they make a move and make a noise, they will all die. This killer can't scare Wu Yu. It also couldn't stop his determination to fight for the immortal king order. He then moved to the other side of the Xuanhuan immortal city and walked among the crowd. Although he received many cold looks from the immortal lords, he was basically at peace. A few days later, he suddenly heard a huge noise in front of him. He looked up and saw a huge immortal palace in front of him. On the plaque, a large number of ancient immortal beasts' corpses were arranged into 4 gloomy characters, 10,000 immortals battlefield. "What is this place?" Yezixi asked. Wu Yu said, "It's a place for immortals to fight. Here, you can gamble openly, and everyone participates voluntarily, so there will be no commotion. Many people bet directly on the immortal king order here. Of course, this is the biggest bet, and most people will not reveal that they have the immortal king order. However, in fact, this place may be very safe, because here, outside the battlefield in the 10,000 immortals battlefield, it is not allowed to take action, and there are many special people to control the situation and patrol. This may be an asset of the Emperor Immortal level, and no one dares to act rashly here. It means that if you enter this 10,000 immortals battlefield, you will definitely have a chance to get the immortal king order, and you should be able to avoid the killers of the palace of killing immortals. First, as long as you don't go to the battlefield to gamble, there is no danger to your life. Second, it is now extremely lively inside, with a lot of people, and there are immortals everywhere. It is difficult for people from the palace of killing immortals to find Wu Yu inside. So Wu Yu decided to go in. Although the 10,000 immortals battlefield is very large, it is almost full at this time. After Wu Yu enters, he must first pay 3 creation god pills before he is eligible to wander around and place bets inside. It was huge, and there were probably tens of thousands of battlefields. There were many people betting around each battlefield. Onlookers could bet on the outcome, and on the battlefield, people could also make promises to each other. It was basically the same as the gambling battles Wu Yu had in the mortal world, just a little more complicated. Wu Yu watched a few battles between immortal kings on the side, which were extremely exciting. However, most of them wanted to get more money before the Taixu Immortal Road was opened, and they had not seen anyone betting on the immortal king order. In addition to individual battles, there were also team battles. Team battles had about 10 people on each side. It was a big melee with constant changes and ups and downs, which was more interesting. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1332. Who has the immortal king's order and who doesn't? This seems to be a big problem. Wu Yu looked at these various immortal monarchs. Everyone seems to be anxious without the immortal king order. But some of these people must have it. Moreover, even if some people have it, he does not take it with him, but hides it elsewhere. Even if he is killed, others cannot get his immortal king order. However, sometimes it may be self-defeating and hidden elsewhere, but easily stolen by others. If Wu Yu had it and hid it in the Tower of Floating Life, then others might have to kill him and refine his Tower of Floating Life in order to get it. Or destroy the Floating Life Tower. In this chaotic situation, there are still people from the Immortal Killing Palace staring at him. It is too difficult to obtain the Immortal King's order. He has no clue yet. After all, there are still 20 years, so he is not particularly anxious. It is okay to spend a few years and see the changes. If it weren't for the fact that it was too dangerous to go out to fight temporarily, and there were few people he could defeat, he wouldn't have stayed in the Xuanhuan Fairy City first. In this battlefield of 10,000 immortals, Wu Yu stayed for half a month and won more than 30 creation pills by gambling. During this period of time, the killers of the Slaughter Immortal Palace really couldn't do anything to him. However, Wu Yu has no news about the Immortal King's order for the time being. I once saw someone betting on the Immortal King's token. The scene was very sensational. In the end, the person lost the Immortal King's token. but I heard that the person who got his Immortal King's token died in Xuanhuan Fairy City the next day. Corner. Everyone is like a wolf and a tiger. Once the Immortal King's order is exposed, it will be easy to assassinate. Here, there are many top experts without Immortal King order. Therefore, exposing the Immortal King's order is tantamount to committing suicide. On this day, while Wu Yu was wandering around, a team battle on the battlefield suddenly attracted his attention. A team of 9 people were all about the same strength against a dozen opponents. However, these 9 teams had a battle formation. The 9 people relied on the formation to fight, protect, and support each other, and actually suppress those dozen people. This battle attracted a lot of people's attention. Wu Yu knew when he saw the bets placed before the battle that many people were not optimistic about the 9-man team. He did not expect that these 9 people would completely defeat their opponents immediately, and their own injuries not big. Wu Yu stood on the side, looking at this exciting and fierce battle, and looking at the tacit cooperation of the 9 people, he was a little envious. I heard people around me say, "It's Su Zidong from Gumoying again. Last time he pretended to be a pig and ate the tiger, and he won a lot." These people came to this fight without asking the wolf from Gumoying the power of the immortal battle formation. Isn't this just right? I have won a lot of money relying on these 9 people, haha. Wu Yu didn't react at first, but suddenly, his eyes widened. He saw a purple immortal among the 9 people on the battlefield. This immortal was handsome and elegant, and he was the core of the 9 people. He was afraid that there is a realm of immortal lords of the 7 realms, which is very powerful. Apparently the immortal named Su Zidong is him. Gu Mo Camp, Su Zidong? Could this be the founder of the Gu Mo sect in the world of Gu Mo 600,000 years ago? This is a mythical existence in the world of Gu Mo, who later ascended to the throne. I have become an immortal. I didn't expect that here I would meet a person from this ancient world more than 600,000 years ago. Wu Yu was speechless. He felt like he had seen a living fossil. Fortunately, he had become an immortal now. He knew that immortals have a long lifespan of 600,000 years, which is only 5 UN of time. For immortals, it is not terribly long, but for mortals. In terms of time, this time has been passed down for countless generations, and countless people have been born, old, sick and died. It must be him, otherwise why would the team be named Gu Moying? Wu Yu was basically sure. He looked at Su Zidong, who was cunning and clever, and he was obviously just like the legend in the ancient world of Mo. Because he has devoured many immortals from the Gu Mo world, he has a very clear understanding of the Gu Mo world. It's barely enough. It's like meeting a fellow villager. Wu Yu smiled. In fact, most of the immortals here ascended from the mortal world, but the years in the mortal world are too short, and the years of the immortals are too long, so many people have almost forgotten the years in the mortal world. Su Zidong is good, but the second in command in his team, named Xuanhuan, is also quite good. His magical weapon of creation is probably the mountains and rivers sword. I'm afraid there are 400 million magic circles. In the meantime, mountains and rivers surrounded it, and the heaven and earth collapsed and turned into sword energy. Xuanhuan is indeed good, but Su Zidong's Tokyo Immortal City is still more powerful. A city created by immortals, the Xiaoangshu, an immortal weapon of creation called Qingyuli, is also particularly unique. Of course, there is also Yeyi's Spear 9 Realms Thorn Soul, which is also a pretty good creation artifact. Wu Yu was a little confused listening to these people chatting. Yes, he was familiar with these names because they all came from the world of ancient ink. Qin Chuan is the ultimate swordsman of the ancient Mo world, a figure who lived more than 500,000 years ago. Qingyuli is also a charming scholar of the ancient Mo world. He was born as a mortal, inherited the fortune, climbed to the sky in one step, and became an immortal. There is also Yeyi, who is also from the ancient Mo world, and is one of the sect leaders of the ancient Mo section. He is considered a descendant of Su Zidong. It has been 400,000 years since he ascended to the throne. These were 4 of them, all from the great world of ancient Ink. Wu Yu had to suspect that the entire ancient Mo camp came from the great world of ancient Ink. Unexpectedly, in this heavenly palace, I would meet so many ascended immortals from the ancient Mo world, and all of them were immortal kings. Obviously, they all came for the purpose of becoming the immortal king and for the Tigzu immortal road. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Wu Yu thought, if these 9 people are all from the ancient Mo world, and are very familiar with this place, and are also looking for the immortal king order, I can get to know them, make a few friends, and get more information. Even, I can pretend to be a descendant of Gu Mo world and join their team. At least this is better than me running around without a head. Moreover, Su Zidong has reached the level of the immortal lord of the 7 realms. If he can protect me, Tianming's money is not enough to hire the immortal lord of the 7 realms to deal with me. When Wu Yu thought of this, he had a new plan. His current Qianxian realm, acting alone, was really an eyesore. It would be really good if there was a group of friends who could cover it up. Moreover, in Gumo world, he can be regarded as half a fellow countryman. Sure enough, Gu Moying won the battle. Amidst the congratulations of everyone, they took the treasure they won and walked down the stage happily, fearing that they would not come out for a while. They have a very good relationship, probably because they are from the same world, so they call Su Zidong the eldest brother, Qin Chuan the second brother, Qing Yuli the third brother, Yi the fourth brother, and several others. Wu Yu didn't recognize who it was for the time being. There are 9 people in total, and the weakest one is probably the immortal lord of the 4 realms. There was only 1 woman among the 9 people, but the female fairy was also very heroic. She walked shoulder to shoulder with them like a man. Of course, in fact, she also had a beautiful appearance, a hot figure, and was as hard to conquer as a wild horse. It should be, Yang Wenlin, as expected, is also one of the ancestors of the ancient Ink world. In the imagination of people in the ancient Ink world, these ancestors who have become gods must all have white beards, wear robes, hang up and down, and look very old. Comprehend the way of heaven, but in fact they look like a group of young people in heaven. Gu Moying did not leave the battlefield of 10,000 immortals. They had money and booked a rest room in the battlefield of 10,000 immortals. Naturally, they set up their own immortal formations to surround the space that temporarily belonged to them, making it airtight. After a tough battle, they must rest and recuperate before fighting again. Wu Yu planned to visit them directly, just use his identity as an immortal from the Gu Mo Great World. Anyway, Wu Yu was very familiar with them and there were no flaws at all. He came to their closed hall and was about to knock on the door. Suddenly the man opened the door and walked out a young man. He was the youngest in the ancient Mo camp. He was very slender, handsome, and brave. When he saw Wu Yu, his face was cold and he said, "Who are you? Why are you hiding at our door?" Just as he was about to come out, he met Wu Yu. The other party looked unhappy because of this, which was normal. After all, they probably thought Wu Yu was here to pry into their secrets. So Wu Yu smiled and said, "Hello, senior, I just watched the battle in Gumo camp and recognized several of the seniors. I am also an ascended immortal from the great world of Gumo." Before he finished speaking, the man waved his hand and sneered, saying, "Stop bragging, you're here to find out if we have the immortal king's order. Return to the great world of Gumo, and get lost." Wu Yu was depressed and was about to continue talking when the other party's face became even more gloomy and said, "If you don't get out of here, don't blame me for being rude. Xianxian will also come to test you." At this time, he was afraid that if Wu Yu didn't leave, he would take action. He was still capable of subduing a Xianxian. "What's the fuss about, At this time, the only woman, Yang Wenlin, came out and saw Wu Yu. Sixth sister is a cannon fodder, and she pretends to be from our world of Gu Mo. Who doesn't know that we are all from the world of Gu Mo? I told him to get lost, the man said. When Yang Wenlin saw Wu Yu seemed calm and not the kind of person who came up to test and entangle him, so she asked, "You said you are from the great world of ancient ink?" Wu Yu said, "Yes, I also know that Senior Yang has a nickname called Yu Yin, which was told to me by the former sect leader of the Fenghua Snow Moon section." Yang Wenlin was startled and said, "You even know my nickname, so I'm going to test you to see if you are really from the world of ancient ink." Wu Yu felt no pressure at all. When the other party asked, Wu Yu answered, for example, how big the territory was, what seas there were, what mountains were there, etc. Moreover, they had not been back for a long time, so Wu Yu knew more details than they did. After asking, Yang Wenlin glared at the young man and said, "Yun Mo, let him come in. He is indeed a compatriot of ours in the great world of Gu Mo." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1333. After experiencing a big battle, the 9 of them did not celebrate for the time being. Instead, they were all recuperating and adjusting. Under the leadership of Yang Wenlin and Na Yun Mo, Wu Yu came to the eyes of everyone in the Gu Mo camp. The purple-haired man Su Zidong suddenly opened his eyes, saw Wu Yu, looked him up and down, and said with a smile, "Hey, my little sister is bringing a good friend. She is still a young man." Everyone laughed. Yang Wenlin rolled her eyes and said, "You. This kid is called Wu Yu. He just watched us fight and followed us here. He claimed to be from the ancient world of Mo and was attracted to us. Of course, I'm not sure. Brothers, let's test him." Yun Mo said from the side, "That's not necessarily the case. He might be an immortal who has been to our ancient world. It doesn't mean anything if he knows more." Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. This guy has never had a good impression of Wu Yu. It can be seen that he is the youngest here and is probably well cared for. Oh! Our compatriots in the Gumo world. Everyone was a little surprised. After all, the heavenly palace was so huge that many people were too lazy to think about what mortal world they came from. Only those who are a little homesick will remember the mark on themselves. Su Zidong stood up, walked to Wu Yu, looked up and down, and said with a smile, "You dare to come here even in the realm of Xianxian. You are really a young and talented man. You are so daring. If you succeed, I will come to test you. All brothers, please listen carefully. Look, this guy is our fellow countryman." Wu Yu nodded. In fact, he wasn't worried at all. No matter what side questions they asked, he knew it. The key is that they have all been away from the world of Gu Mo for too long, so Wu Yu doesn't even understand the world of Gu Mo yet. Moreover, the world of Gumo has undergone many changes over the years. The sects founded by the immortal lords present here have all been broken. Su Zidong asked about a dozen questions, and they were indeed quite biased. If you only stayed in the ancient Mo world for a while, you might not know. After asking, Su Zidong chuckled, looked around the audience, and said, "Everyone knows these questions well by heart. So, if you think he is undoubtedly our fellow, please raise your hands." Wu Yu also looked at 8 other people. Yang Wenlin smiled and said, "Is there any suspense in this? Welcome our little brother who is so bold and dares to come to Chong'anchen in the Jixuan Dao realm, haha." She raised her hand, which was indeed very generous. Then there was the cold swordsman Qin Chuan. He raised his hand and said, "I find this person quite pleasing to my eye. Everyone had their own judgment, so they raised their hands one after another, and Wu Yu mistook the fake for the real. There was no problem at all. He needs to be around this group of powerful immortal lords. First, he can avoid the killers from the immortal palace. Secondly, this way he has a better chance of getting closer to the immortal king's order than if he were like a headless fly. After all, they may all be waiting for the opportunity to find the immortal king token. They even have immortal king orders on them. In the end, only the youngest Yun Mo was a little unhappy. He shook his head without raising his hand and said, I think it's better not to just listen to his words and just believe him easily. After all, this is Chang'an heaven and there are countless Xiao Xiao. Who can do you know what the purpose is? Yang Wenlin said, say less. After saying that, she winked at Yun Mo. But Yun Mo didn't seem to understand. He was a little unhappy and sat in the corner. Su Zidong, the immortal lord of the seven realms, sat back in his seat. He looked at Wu Yu with great interest and said, do you have any ideas for coming to us this time? After all, we are all generous people. Wu Yu looked at the crowd and said, then I'll tell the truth. In fact, I came to Chang'an Tian just to see the excitement. To appreciate the fierce atmosphere here and see if I can gain anything. But I regretted it after I arrived. It's really dangerous here, and many people even think that I have the immortal king's order, and the exit from the well of eternal life is basically blocked, making it difficult to leave. I almost lost my life before escaping to Shen'an Immortal City. Now even in the city, I can only hide in this 10,000 immortal battlefield. I wanted to hide when Taixu Immortal Road opened, but there is no danger outside. I left, but fortunately, I heard the names of the ancestors in the legend while watching you fight just now, and I was so excited that I came to visit. Wu Yu smiled helplessly and said, to be honest, of course I hope that the ancestors can take me with them, so that I don't have to worry about dying for no reason. But I personally have little strength. If I follow the ancestors, I am afraid that I will drag everyone down. Therefore, if the ancestors feel that it is inappropriate, then I can only continue to stay in this battlefield of 10,000 immortals. Ha 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 ha, that's it? I have to say, you are really brave. With your level, from the well of eternal life to the immortal city of divine grace, it is a miracle that you were not assassinated alone. Su Zidong smiled. Yang Wenlin said, after all, he is our descendant, but he is also very well behaved and honest. I like him very much. Brothers, why don't you let him follow us first? I also want to know more about him. What is the world of Gumo today? How's it going? The main reason is that Wu Yu's level is too low, he is still a mysterious immortal, and he doesn't seem to be a threat. Moreover, he is not an immortal from the ancient Mo world. It is impossible to understand the ancient Mo world to this extent. They can be sure that Wu Yu comes from the ancient Mo world. It's a big world, so I'm much less defensive. Then Yi said, it doesn't matter, just follow. It's a good thing that our team has grown. Qing Yuli raised his head slightly, glanced at Wu Yu with his Danfan eyes, and said, I find this person quite pleasing to my eye. He is humble, courteous, and straightforward. Not bad. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Their influence on Wu Yu was indeed good. Wu Yu could also tell that this group of people was also very straightforward and had a very good relationship with each other. It was really enviable for such a large group to have all brothers and sisters. When everyone basically agreed and let Wu Yu follow them for the time being, Yun Mo was very anxious and jumped out from the corner and said, brothers and sisters, you should think about it carefully. I think it is very inappropriate. After all, this is at this critical moment, who knows what purpose he has. Let's wait for the Taixu Immortal Road to open. When he said this, his face suddenly turned pale. There was also deathly silence in this hall. When Wu Yu saw the depressed expressions on everyone's faces, he was startled for a moment and then understood. Yun Mo said, "Few changes will occur, and we will wait for the Taixu Immortal Road to open." Who would say such a thing? The answer is, those who have the Immortal King's order. Yun Mo is the only four-realm Immortal Lord here, the weakest and the youngest. If even he is waiting for the Taixu Immortal Road to open, it means that they may all have the Immortal King token. 9 Immortal King orders. This is a big number. If word got out, it would probably bring disaster to them. After all, there are too many people who want the Immortal King token. Yun Mo didn't want Wu Yu to follow, so he was exposed in desperation. Wu Yu could only smile helplessly in his heart. Now, even if he wanted to leave, they would not let him leave. If it were anyone else, he might have to kill himself to silence himself at this time. But they seemed helpless and did not choose to do this. From this aspect, Wu Yu could also see that their conduct was indeed good. Facing them, hiding is not a good idea. Only by being honest can you gain respect, so Wu Yu quickly said, "Seniors, please rest assured that I will never talk nonsense. It seems that Ancestor Yunmo also wants me to stay here. You can watch me, I will follow you all the time." Su Zidong's face was a little gloomy. He glared at Yun Mo and said, "Is it so difficult for you to keep your mouth shut?" Yun Mo's face was purple now. He was too anxious, so he spoke out. At this time, when Su Zidong scolded him, he could only look at Wu Yu with hatred. "Wu Yu, you know what can and cannot be said, right?" Su Zidong asked. Wu Yu nodded and said, "I do have some understanding of the current situation. Please rest assured. I just came here to seek refuge, but I didn't expect it to change like this. Now I can only say that I want you to believe me. I know, if you don't kill me now, it will be a great kindness for you." Wu Yu will remember it in his heart. He has always been very candid and did not pretend not to understand what Yun Mo said before. They pondered for a while, and finally Su Zidong said, "Although you can win some supplies in this 10,000 immortal battlefield, it is still a bit high profile. Let's return to the Gu Mo mansion and stay here with peace of mind. Before the Taixu Immortal Road opens, just don't go out anymore." Everyone agreed. "Wu Yu, for the next 20 years, you can only follow us." Wu Yu smiled and said, "With your protection, I naturally hope for it." Wu Yu knew that they must have discussed whether to kill him. After all, they could not completely trust Wu Yu. However, their failure to do so showed that they were benevolent and righteous people and were not so aggressive. But Yun Yu knew that they must have discussed whether to kill him. "Mo, now he has murderous intent. Walk." They left the 10,000 Immortals battlefield. Yun Mo was monitoring Wu Yu all the way, probably because he was afraid that Wu Yu would send out some messenger talisman and notify others. Of course, even so, nothing big will happen if they hide in the Gu Mo mansion. Gu Mo mansion is a mansion they spent a lot of money to rent in the Shenan Immortal City. It is protected by many immortal formations and is a relatively safe place. After returning to Gu Mo mansion, they activated the immortal formation, and there was always a person stationed there. There were several layers of immortal formation here, including one that completely sealed the messaging immortal talisman. As long as they entered, it would be difficult to pass the message out. Back here, they relaxed a lot. "Wu Yu, I'm warning you, don't have any bad intentions, otherwise I won't be the first to spare you," Yun Mo said harshly. "Ancestor Yunmo, please rest assured Wu Yu could only do this. Of course he won't spread the word. As for the other group of people, when will they completely trust themselves? They can only wait for time to pass." Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1334. After less than a month of getting along, Wu Yu was already very familiar with them. After a month of getting along, Gu Moying probably had a good idea of what kind of person Wu Yu was, especially Su Zidong and his group, who were all veterans and could tell who he was at a glance. They didn't kill Wu Yu, which was a good bet, and Wu Yu really didn't need to spread the news. With this Gu Mo mansion, he was much safer. Wu Yu also felt that this group of people was really good. The relationship between them was really like that of brothers. They got together many years ago, and the number of people gradually increased, and they have been fighting side by side. Among them, Yun Mo joined the shortest time, which was only more than 1,000 years. Their boss was Su Zidong, who owned the creation fairy weapon Daoshan Fairy City and was the only fairy king of the 7 realms. The second one was Qin Xuan, who lived by the sword and owned the creation fairy weapon Mountains and Rivers sword and was a fairy king of the 6 realms. The third one is Qing Yuli, who loves to joke and has a sultry temperament, similar to Nanshan Wanjiao, and is a 6 realms immortal lord. He has the fortune immortal artifact book sword, the book of laughter and forgetting. The fourth one is Ye Yi, he holds a spear and pierces the soul of the 9 realms, and is a 6 realms immortal lord. He usually doesn't talk much and looks cute and interesting. The fifth one is Jin Kevin, he has a strong body and a straightforward and generous personality. He is also a 6 realms immortal lord, and has the fortune immortal artifact the thundering immortal hammer. The sixth one is Wu Xiao, he loves to laugh, likes close combat, has a good physical body, and is a 5 realms immortal lord. His fortune immortal artifact the sky battle suit is also quite powerful. The seventh one is Huangpu Yujun, he is a handsome young man, who likes to play with the dagger the soul-stirring immortal thorn, and is a 5 realms immortal lord. The eighth one is Yang Wenlin, the only woman, and also a 5 realms immortal lord. As for the ninth and last, of course it was Yun Mo, who was a 4 realms immortal lord. However, he was young and should be the best among the group in terms of talent. He could be said to have a promising future and was called a little genius by his brothers and sisters. This group of people were indeed a group of strange people, of all kinds. Now that the Taixu Immortal Road was right in front of them, they still had the mind to play around. The relationship between them was like that between Wu Yu, Nanshan, and Yezixi, which was enviable. Wu Yu quickly integrated into them. After a month or so, he had become brothers with them. They were also probably familiar with Wu Yu and had the intention of treating him as the 10th member. After all, everyone in their team was from the ancient Mo world. I am afraid that the only one who still had serious doubts and kept staring at Wu Yu was Yun Mo, who accidentally said the wrong thing at the beginning. Damn, this kid's body is so strong. The 5th brother and I, relying on the power of our bodies alone, are no match for him. In the yard, Wu Xiao and the sturdy Jin Kevin were easily knocked to the ground by Wu Yu. They were immediately shocked and astonished. This is even more terrifying than the body of a fairy beast. Jin Kevin was also unbelievable. What other secrets do you have, kid? Let me dig them out. Yang Wenlin chased after him with a smile. That's right, come and try my tricks. Could it be that they are all this age, but they are still living like children? Practicing requires fun. I think I am an interesting person, so a group of interesting people, together, the whole life of practicing Taoism becomes interesting. Su Zidong said at night. Indeed, I envy you very much, but I'll be honest and slowly gain your trust, haha. Wu Yu was still quite honest. He knew that they couldn't completely trust him for the time being. After all, the matter was of great importance. In fact, I am quite accurate in judging people. You have some secrets, but you are obviously not someone who is here to deal with us. I can't see any dark side in your heart, Su Zidong said. Thank you. When I knew their secrets, they didn't kill me, but kept me by their side. I really need to thank them. As time passed, it seemed that they were going to stay here for another 20 years. After a few months, Wu Yu was basically familiar with each of them. Except for Yun Mo, who still had opinions and doubts about him, they were basically brothers. After all, Wu Yu still liked their concept of cultivating immortals. A group of people gathered together, communicated with each other, exchanged ideas with each other, and comprehended each other. Occasionally, they played together, such as playing Pai Gao and Mahjong, which really opened Wu Yu's eyes. Wu Yu joined them and indeed found that compared with the boring cultivation, experiencing life is also a tao. However, there was still no news about his immortal king order, but the other party and others obviously would not let him leave, which made Wu Yu depressed. Of course, there was still a long time, and he was not particularly anxious. One day a month later, something unexpected happened. On this day, Wu Yu was mixed with them, and suddenly someone shouted outside the Guo mansion. "Su Zidong, I finally found your group of people, come out." Everyone's face changed. Yu informed, Yun Mo immediately had murderous intentions towards Wu Yu. Su Zidong's face changed, and he said, "It was the voice of Qingyi Immortal Lord. They came to our door." Everyone's face changed when they heard Su Zidong's words, but it was obvious that this had nothing to do with Wu Yu. "Go." Su Zidong went outside with everyone else, and Wu Yu naturally followed. "There is an immortal king token that we got in King Liantian. The people in King Liantian knew that we had the immortal king token. We originally thought that they would not be able to find it if we came here to hide. Unexpectedly, we still found it. Come here," Yang Wenlin said to Wu Yu with a depressed expression. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. This really has nothing to do with Wu Yu. They are within the immortal formation and have not gone out for the time being. Standing here, they can see about a dozen people outside, all of them immortal lords. The leader was an old man with white hair and blue clothes, with a sinister expression. When Wu Yu and the other 10 people appeared in the immortal formation, their eyes also penetrated through. "Brother, maybe it was Wu Yu who led them here," Yun Mo said in Su Zidong's ear. "Shut up first," Su Zidong glared at him. At this time, Immortal Lord Qingyi sneered, "How well you are hiding. Our master, the immortal King Qingyi, spent a lot of money to have someone open the floating light eyes before we found you here. It seems that you have enough immortal king orders, otherwise you wouldn't be a coward here." This sentence also shows that their finding here has nothing to do with Wu Yu. Yun Mo failed to frame Wu Yu, and his face was a little ugly. Wu Yu knew why he rejected him. First, he didn't trust himself. Second, because of himself, he accidentally said it and brought trouble to the team. Third, because of Wu Yu, he was scolded by his brothers and sisters many times. After many times, he felt angry in his heart. After all, he was the youngest and the most cared for before, but now they obviously want to bring Wu Yu into the team. However, his focus is on the words Qinglian Immortal King. Remember, the first heaven he reached when he arrived at the heavenly palace was the Qinglian heaven, wasn't it? Unexpectedly, here, I could meet the overlord of King Liantian, the Qinglian Immortal King. This is terrible. I didn't expect that the Qinglian Immortal King would personally take action. It seems that he wants to forcibly snatch the Immortal King's order for his disciples. Wu Yu heard Huangfu Yujun's depressed expression and said softly. It turned out to be the Immortal King, and all the disciples came out to look for the Immortal King's order. Immortal Lord Qingyi outside is the eldest disciple of Immortal King Qinglian. He continued, "You took away the Immortal King's order from me, King Liantian. You are so audacious. Our master is furious. As punishment, I will give you 3 days' time, hand over 3 Immortal King orders, and punish one with 3, which can be regarded as a lesson to you. I advise you, never force our master to take action, otherwise, you will not be able to cause a commotion, and you will lose your life. Don't even think about escaping, our people have already surrounded your Guo mansion. 3 days to consider and hand over 3 Immortal King tokens." Everyone in Guo camp looked ugly. Jin Kaiwen said, "Everyone, let's fight out. This immortal king's order is our hard-earned and painstaking effort, how can we give it to them casually? If we fight out, I don't believe they dare to do it. The Qinglian immortal king may not have arrived yet, so we still have to fight if there is a chance. If things get serious, they will die." Wu Xiao said, "The Qinglian immortal king may be nearby. If we fight out, we are no match at all. One Qinglian immortal king is enough to defeat us. And it can be done quietly. We are being targeted. No, the solution, I think, is to retreat after knowing the difficulty. In this case, I choose not to enter the Taixu Immortal Road and hand over my Immortal King order." Su Zidong said, "Calm down first. We have 3 days to go back and discuss it." They were extremely depressed and returned to the main hall, where everyone sat cross-legged and stood facing each other. Yun Mo said anxiously, "The Immortal King tokens that I got are all of high value. I am not convinced that I have given them an advantage like this. The Immortal King cannot participate in the competition for the Immortal King token, but Qinglian Immortal King is so shameless. I want to sue him." Qin Chuan smiled coldly and said, "Where are you going to complain? Now that the Immortal King has personally taken action to snatch the Immortal King's order and give it to his disciples, is there still less? Don't be angry." Qing Yuli rolled his eyes and said, "We, this group of people, are afraid of meeting such a character. The Immortal King level means authority. With one rule, we can all be finished easily. There will be no movement at all, and we will be stared at by the Immortal King. Come on, you only want 3 Immortal King tokens from us, I think it's quite polite. They are very unwilling, but the reality is cruel. Obviously they couldn't care less about Wu Yu." Su Zidong said, 3 days later, if we don't hand over the 3 Immortal King tokens, Qinglian Immortal King will easily come in. We haven't seen his figure yet, and we are afraid that the Immortal King tokens will be gone. He is worried about his reputation. So I don't want to do it too harshly, as long as we have 3. Otherwise, he would take it away directly. In that case, Gu Moying would definitely not be reconciled and would rush out for a duel in advance, at least to make some noise and defeat the enemy. So, it's better to be a grandson and hand over the things. Jin Kevin was still unwilling to give in. His eyes were red because he knew how hard everyone had worked for these Immortal King tokens over the years. Everyone nodded sadly. But at this time, Wu Yu suddenly said, "I have a way to keep everyone's Immortal King order." Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 1335. Wu Yu had been silent until he suddenly spoke. It took the 9 of them to see his presence. "What can you do? Do you know how terrifying the Immortal King is?" Yun Mo sneered. Wu Yu was too lazy to pay attention to him. He said, "I have a way to prevent everyone from disturbing the Immortal Kings outside. Now I can leave Gu Mo Mansion without anyone noticing. However, after leaving Gu Mo Mansion, after all, I am still in the gods. I guess they can still find you all in Engxian City, so they may need to take risks and escape outside the city, or to other Xian cities. Presumably, the Qinglian Immortal King can no longer use the floating light sky eye." Everyone was surprised. Su Zidong said, "We will be more careful about how to hide after escaping. Even the floating eyes of light may not be able to find us so easily. The key is, can you take us out silently this time?" Yadao said, "You must know that the Immortal Lord Qingyi outside is the 8-realm Immortal Lord, who is more powerful than our boss. They are guarding this place to the death." Wu Yu smiled and nodded, and said, "I hope you can trust me. For me, this matter is very easy. I don't believe that you have such ability and you still need to come to us. Maybe you are one of them." Yun Mo sneered again. "Xiaju, shut up." Qin Chuan couldn't listen anymore. A group of them all liked Wu Yu, but this Yun Mo wanted to go against Wu Yu at every turn. However, Wu Yu didn't bother to talk to him. He can now fully control the floating tower, and can also open up a certain space in the floating tower. First, he placed Nanshan Wanjiao and Ye 11 under 100 times the flow of time, and then created a small space with a normal flow of time. To isolate the two. It saves them having to explain more when they see Nanshan looking at the moon. If you can trust me, come into this immortal weapon of mine. I can get you out of here in less than 10 breaths, Wu Yu said. Okay, we will believe you this time. If we can escape this time, Wu Yu, you will be our official brother, Su Zidong said. He had already spoken, and everyone else basically agreed. Now there was nothing he could do if Yun Mo didn't agree, but judging from his expression, he clearly didn't believe that Wu Yu had such ability. Go in. Su Zidong packed up his things and led everyone into the fusion tower. I didn't expect that you, a kid, are still in the 9 Mysteries Dao realm, and you even have the immortal weapon of creation. It's not easy, Su Zidong said with a smile. Little brother, it depends on your ability. Yang Wenlin smiled. Yun Mo was the last one to go in. He looked at Wu Yu coldly and said, don't let me find out that you have ill intentions towards our brothers, otherwise, I will be the first to kill you. Wu Yu was too lazy to respond to him. He had long been used to this guy targeting him. After bringing them all into the fusion tower, he turned a big somersault and passed through the somersault cloud, far away from the Gu Mo mansion. This time it was jump as far as you want. When he appeared again, he appeared on the roof of a building. He quickly jumped a few more times to get further away. When the 10 breath time came, he was already 180,000 away from Gu Mo mansion. Thousands of miles away. He suddenly landed in a corner where there was no one for the time being, and then released everyone in Gu Mo camp. Here it is. When Su Zidong and a group of people appeared here, they looked around, but they didn't know this place. They went out to find someone, and after asking around, they found that although this was still the Shenan Ferry City, in Gu Mo mansion, there was almost one in the east and one in the west. Too far. They are safe for now. So at this time, everyone looked at Wu Yu in shock, and were speechless in surprise. What method do you use to move so fast? Yun Mo said. Wu Yu smiled and said, it's better not to ask, this is my secret after all. However, you can't use this method too many times. One time is enough for me. How to hide next depends on you. Su Zidong patted Wu Yu on the shoulder and said, I saw you right. You saved us this time. At least you saved us 3 Immortal King tokens for the time being. Did they know if there was much movement when you came out? Left. Wu Yu said, there is almost no movement. If they don't go in, they won't know. Qin Chuan said, very good, then we have 3 days. Qinglian Immortal King must be in the Shenan Immortal City, or nearby, or coming here. So, we can't stay in Shenan Ferry City. Starting from here, there are 2 cities that are relatively close. We choose the Shenan Ferry City, which is a little further away. Now go there at full speed. There is still a chance to dodge. Everyone needs to be careful, Su Zidong ordered. In fact, Wu Yu took them directly to Shenan Ferry City, but he still couldn't show these abilities too much. After all, Yun Mo, for example, had objections to him. If he spread the news randomly, it would not do Wu Yu any good. Everyone was exhausted and left the city in hiding. Wu Yu once again came to the world outside the city. This place was simply a killing place, with the smell of blood everywhere. In fact, Wu Yu was a little selfish in asking them to move. He wanted to hang out with them. If he could swallow the corpse of an immortal king, it would be of great help to him. He needed to improve his strength. Everyone, if you encounter irresistible danger, please gather around me quickly. I can escape once or twice more, Wu Yu said. Obviously, everyone thought that what he just used was an escape method. Okay, Thank you very much. Su Zidong nodded. He really trusted Wu Yu's method just now. So he emphasized this to Wu Yu. Little sister, Wu Yu is under your special protection, Su Zidong said. Okay. Yang Wenlin lifted Wu Yu from behind and said, get ready, I'm very fast. She was going to carry Wu Yu on her way. Wu Yu said, Sister Yang, please put me down. Maybe I can follow you. Don't brag what you said. Yang Wenlin didn't believe it. They don't believe it? Wu Yu made a gesture of invitation and asked them to start charging. They rushed forward one by one. Wu Yu rode the somersault cloud and followed behind them. There was really not much difference. Some people enter the city and some leave the city, but there are still relatively few people coming out. Obviously, those who leave the city usually do not have the Immortal King's order and want to try their luck, so no one pays attention to those who leave the city at first. Are you so fast? Everyone was shocked by Wu Yu. Wu Yu smiled coquettishly. It seems that we, fellow countrymen, are really not simple, Qing Yuli said with a smile. A group of them moved quickly, hiding between the heaven and the earth, and moved forward quickly. The distance from here to Xuanhuan Fairy City is not close, it will take some time. Wu Yu remembered that he was ambushed when he went to Xuanhuan Fairy City, and he finally escaped by relying on somersault clouds. Chang'an Tian is full of wild trees. In fact, the whole world looks very barren. The world between heaven and earth is filled with a murderous atmosphere. Immortal lords, ambush and fight in the setting. Faintly, the sounds of fighting could be heard. This is still relatively far away. If you get close now, the heaven and earth will definitely shake. It went relatively smoothly at first. 3 days later, a group of people suddenly stopped in front of everyone and attacked Gu Moying without saying a word. Kill them. The purpose of the other group of people is quite obvious. Careful. There were almost the same number of people on both sides, and they instantly fell into a melee. The battle between the Immortal Kings was all about the power of the world. For Wu Yu, it was a bit dazzling. He was trapped under the control of several worlds for a while. It was extremely uncomfortable and the scene was extremely chaotic. Under such circumstances, he could only use the movement. He changed his form and escaped from the fighting range. Looking ahead, the ground in front was shaking. The people of Gumo camp were fighting with each other. It was difficult to see their opponents clearly. The power of the world was everywhere, crushing and bombing. No wonder this Chang'an sky was deserted. Even if there were flowers, plants, trees, and the Tegzu Immortal Road were all destroyed once every 5,000 years. Wu Yu couldn't help, he could only hope that Gu Moying could win. Looking at the situation and the performance of several people, Wu Yu estimated that Gu Moying would have no problem winning, but he was worried that someone would fall into the siege and die easily. It seems that those people are at least the 4th level of Realm Lord God realm or above. Is there anyone left alone? Suddenly, a ferocious voice came from behind. Wu Yu looked back and saw a red-haired young immortal staring at him. His eyes were particularly cold and stern, and his whole body was burning with red flames, murderous intent. Full. He is the same group of people as the one who is currently intercepting the Gu Mo camp, but his strength may be lower and he did not participate in the battle. He may be around the 2nd level of the Realm Lord God realm. Xianxian, you dare to follow me here? The other party smiled sinisterly. I don't have the Immortal King's order on me, so it's useless for you to stare at me. Wu Yu waved his hand. The opponent said, I know you don't, but you are now related to a group of them, and I kidnapped you. My father and the others can rely on you to threaten them. Wu Yu smiled and said, I am just a useless little brother, what can I threaten? Then I will kill you. The other party still refused to give up and came to kill him. Wu Yu was helpless, but he was not afraid of fighting. For the Tegzu Immortal Road, he had become much stronger. He had not even used the 2 major killing weapons, the Fusion Tower and the Fusion Sword. Fortunately, this hiding opponent can still be dealt with. Immortal Lord of the Second Realm. Even more powerful than the Destiny Dragon Lord. However, Wu Yu is not the Wu Yu he was back then. Now, he has not transformed into the heaven and earth, nor has he transformed into an immortal ape. Instead, he looks like an immortal. Then, in his hand, the floating tower and the sharp floating sword appeared. Chapter 3 will be updated at 1800 hours tonight. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng-Ching Yang. Chapter 1336. These are two great immortal artifacts, and even the Fusheng sword, which is of slightly lower quality, is more powerful than Su Zidong's Daoshan Immortal City. Not to mention, Wu Yu has now taken control of the Fusheng Tower. The treasure that was once obtained in the wonderful Taigu Xian Road has only recently been activated, and it has also taken a lot of effort. The red-haired immortal, whose name is unknown, saw that Wu Yu was a companion of the Gu Mo Ying and was also a Xianxian, so he was very arrogant. At this time, he suddenly took action, intending to quickly control Wu Yu. And Wu Yu saw that the fighting on the Gu Mo Ying side had entered a white-hot stage. This was a life and death battle, and everyone was doing their best. There was life and death at any time in the killing. Fortunately, Gu Mo Ying and others have been familiar with each other for a long time, and know how to cooperate with each other, play their respective advantages, and complement each other by integrating into the battle formation. In this way, they can easily injure anyone, and if someone is in danger, the others will quickly remedy it. Battle formation is also a kind of immortal formation, which is a variation of the great formation of heaven and earth. It is directly used in battle and does not require deployment. It requires mutual understanding and cooperation among personnel. Generally speaking, battle formations are rare. They can get such battle formations and practice them successfully, which is also an important guarantee for their proficiency in teamwork. Therefore, although the battle is extremely tragic, Wu Yu thinks that no one should die in the battle. Where are you looking? The red-haired immortal in front of Wu Yu felt that Wu Yu was distracted and felt despised. Red Fire World. Suddenly, he attracted the power of the world in front of Wu Yu, and the autonomous world expanded from his body, sweeping Wu Yu. Suddenly, the rage was soaring, and the raging fire engulfed the entire world. The infinite power of the world of fire came to suppress Wu Yu. A mere Xianxian, don't you know the terrible power of the world of our realm master gods? The red-haired immortal laughed. It was actually a bit of a waste of talent to crush the Xianxian with the power of the world. All the immortals, no matter how many Daos they have or how strong Dao essence they have, still cannot resist the crushing of the world's power. That red fire world, connected with this Chong and Tian, used the small world to drive the big world. Countless immortal energy swept in, was burned violently, and was controlled by the red-haired immortal. But from beginning to end, Wu Yu's face was cold, but after devouring many immortals, he had a lot of Taoist magic, which was ever-changing, but at this moment he just wanted to try to see how powerful each of the floating life sword towers was. At the moment when the opponent's red fire world came to suppress him, Wu Yu suddenly took action. Time Speed Immortal Array. The floating life tower was in his hand, flying up, and instantly appeared above the heads of the two people. Wu Yu activated the power of the floating life tower, and in an instant, within the coverage of the floating life tower, time was disordered. In the normal one breath of time in the outside world, in this area, some parts may have passed 2 breaths of time, some places may have only reached 1/10 of a breath, and some may have even passed 10 breaths of time. The speed of the opponent's red fire world is fixed, but because of the huge changes in time within the entire field, some places are extremely fast, and some places are as slow as a snail. In such a chaotic field, the entire red fire world of the red-haired immortal, as well as everything in his world, have become distorted. What's going on? The opponent still couldn't understand this kind of power at all, and even thought that something weird had happened. He was suppressing Wu Yu, but this confusion made his entire red fire world fall into chaos. Not only did he fail to attack Wu Yu, but the confusion made him unable to control it normally, and even self-rebounded. In this moment, Wu Yu quickly passed by him, and the red-haired immortal only saw a figure. Then, his immortal spirit collapsed. Dim and lightless. Because Wu Yu used the floating life sword's instant killing of immortals, which was truly fast, accurate and ruthless. In an instant, the immortal spirit collapsed, and even at the beginning, the opponent had not reacted yet. When he thought that he might be attacked by Wu Yu, the red-haired immortal was already dead. His immortal god was instantly cut into two halves by Wu Yu. The foundation of the Realm Master's realm, the immortal god world core, was also cut into two halves by Wu Yu. What? At this moment, this guy still didn't know what happened. It was still a mess, and then in the chaos, he died instantly. In his blurred consciousness, he only saw that in this chaos, Wu Yu turned into a black mist and surrounded him instantly. In fact, Wu Yu was a little surprised. The power of these two great creation immortal weapons is indeed much stronger than I imagined. Whether it is time speed change or killing immortals in an instant. In fact, because they came from the same immortal, using them together at the same time will have a better effect. Now, this red-haired immortal has been killed instantly by him. At the Gumo camp, the battle was not over yet. Wu Yu took advantage of no one's attention to devour the red-haired immortal first. It had been a long time since he had devoured him. Now the immortal god was fully awake, in Wu Yu's human form, and he was also very awake now. The sky-devouring beast was Wu Yu's greatest reliance, even surpassing the inheritance of the Monkey King. He couldn't not use it. The second realm immortal lord was a huge help to him. Today was the first time he digested the immortal god world core. When he decomposed the immortal god world core and turned it into pure power, it would actually be of great help to him in entering the realm lord god realm in the future. At least in the process of decomposition, he could imagine the process of formation. At the same time, the Tao of the second realm immortal lord was also of great help to Wu Yu. He had practiced Taoism for a long time and had not been imprisoned in the Dragon Emperor Purgatory, so his memory was sufficient. Wu Yu knew at the first time that none of the people who surrounded and killed him had a Fairy King order, which made him a little disappointed. He thought that the people of the ancient Mo camp could get a Fairy King order for him. But in fact, it is very unlikely that those who hang out outside the city and actively fight others have a Fairy King order. After dealing with the red-haired immortal, Wu Yu was fine. The power of the second realm immortal lord made him replenish the fairy essence and Buddha essence that he lacked after his previous upgrade, and there were even many surpluses, which were transferred to Wu Yu's 100,000 clones. Now he used the law of heaven and earth to transform into a tiny existence of half an inch, hiding outside the battlefield, and was not affected by them. He watched the battle with his fiery eyes and found that the ancient Mo camp had gradually gained the upper hand. In a beautiful bombardment, the huge city above Suzidong killed a fourth realm immortal. His opponent was not him, but through cooperation, he suddenly got confused and attacked Yun Mo's opponent. The four realms immortal king died suddenly in battle, and Yun Mo quickly joined the team to help others. The balance has been broken, and the Gu Mo camp will definitely win. But Wu Yu's eyes attracted the four realms immortal king. He had just devoured, but it was obviously not full. The taste of not continuing to devour for a long time made Wu Yu a little unbearable. He went to the dead four realms immortal king in the first time. At this time, everyone was involved in the battle, and no one cared about Wu Yu at all. He changed his shape and appeared in front of the four realms immortal king corpse in an instant, and changed his shape again, and directly escaped from the battle range. almost, he was pressed to the ground by the power of the world of unknown people. These people are really terrible, not what Wu Yu can deal with now, but he has got what he wants. A four-world immortal king, his knowledge and fortune are much stronger than the previous two-world immortal king, and there are even many treasures in his sumi bag, all of which Wu Yu accepted with a smile. After devouring the four-world immortal king, the immortal god suppressed by the Ruyi Jinggu Bang almost completely turned into a giant beast that swallowed the sky. Wu Yu's eyes were a little red. He knew that he had reached his limit. If he continued to devour, it would be a big trouble. Next, he must control himself. The immortal god world core of this world immortal king is more perfect. Wu Yu did not decompose it for the time being, because it contains a domineering power. If it is decomposed, he is afraid that his current realm cannot bear it. Even if there are many dragon elephants and the Bodhi seeds are as bright as stars, they cannot support the power of the four-world immortal king. When Wu Yu succeeded, he didn't expect the battle to be over. When the group saw that someone died in the battle and their side began to be at a disadvantage, they knew they had hit a wall. "Next time we meet you, you're dead," the leader called everyone to flee together. They probably didn't see that the red-haired immortal had died in Wu Yu's hands. Because the battle was very noisy, there must be many people lurking nearby, waiting to take advantage of the situation. So when the other party retreated, Su Zidong shouted to everyone to flee together without saying a word. In fact, both sides paid attention to the body of the Four Realms immortal lord. After all, he still had treasures on him. However, after searching for a week and finding nothing, they thought that the other party had taken it away first. So Su Zidong had no choice. Life was always more important than harvest. Wu Yu immediately caught up with them. Everyone was a little tired, but they quickly hid their bodies and continued to head towards Xuanhuan Immortal City. There were panic all the way. "Are you okay?" Yang Wenlin asked when she saw Wu Yu was a little irritable. "It's okay," Wu Yu smiled slightly. "You can survive the melee just now by hiding aside. You are really capable," Yun Mo on the left mocked. "Yun Mo, don't forget, it was because of whom we were able to escape from the hands of the Azure Lotus Immortal King Huangfu Yu Jun said. Yun Mo waved his hand, not wanting to say more. What he meant was that he was afraid that taking Wu Yu with him would always be a burden during the escape stage. However, they finally arrived at the Divine Sound Immortal City. They came here without any danger and lived in a hidden immortal inn, preparing not to go out again and not be exposed again. Wu Yu had a huge gain this time. He certainly could not defeat the Four Realms Immortal King by himself. The Four Realms Immortal King's Tao and realm were far beyond his, which was of great help to him. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1337. In the Xuanhuan Immortal City, the people of Gumoying stayed in the inn all day, hiding and not going out. Basically, most immortals who have the Immortal King order will do the same. But in this way, it is actually possible to be targeted, because it is too obvious that you must have the Immortal King order. So, you still have to try your luck. After all, there are many similar people. It is not easy to spend these 20 years in peace, and you even have to keep changing places. Fortunately, in the Immortal City, other people dare not fight for it blatantly. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Wu Yu felt that the main reason why he could not get the Immortal King order was that he was too weak. If he could become stronger rapidly, the Immortal King order would come uninvited. Moreover, he still had 20 years. He returned to the floating life tower. In this time frame that was 100 times longer, he used the Dao of the Four Realms Immortal Lord, his perception and experience to begin to condense his new Dao ancient immortal pattern. 1 year outside was 100 years inside the floating life tower. It is becoming more and more difficult to cultivate immortality. The coexistence of Dao and Dao is also a great learning. Even if I now have the knowledge of the four realms immortal lord, it will take a lot of time to make progress. In this way, the great role of the floating life tower was reflected. Wu Yu began to ponder patiently, which was equivalent to turning a deaf ear to the outside world and reading the books of sages with one heart. The heaven-defying and terrifying nature of the sky-swallowing beast allowed him to constantly absorb new dao, new understandings, new perspectives, and new experiences. He was like a bottomless pit that could absorb and integrate everything. He himself was far from that level, but the sky-swallowing beast continuously raised his realm. Now his comprehension even surpassed many realm masters, which was the reason why Wu Yu could make such progress. All this comes from the ancient Emperor Xuanhuan. If it weren't for him, there wouldn't be such a change between Wu Yu's body and the sky-devouring beast. In fact, it can be said that he is no longer a simple sky-devouring beast. The simple sky-devouring beast is the sky-devouring demon ancestor, who can't control himself at all, and the most important thing that Wu Yu's body brings is control. He now has 5 ancient immortal patterns of the Tao. For the comprehension and experience of a realm master, the ancient immortal pattern of the Tao is just a matter of time. And he has an infinite world in the floating life tower. He continues to progress and ponder, and cultivates the small Tao with a higher level of Tao comprehension, and is familiar with it. He spent 30 years to condense his 6th Tao, the Tao of big and small, which was comprehended from the magical power of the law of heaven and earth. The Tao of big and small is very interesting. The change of size is not just the size of the physical body, but a series of changes in strength and speed, and even contains deeper meanings. The whole world, between size, has infinite mysteries. For example, the world is so big that it can hide immortals and gods and become an autonomous world. Although Wu Yu has become a Dao, he has only just started to understand the Dao of big and small. The rules of the world are mysterious and there is still a long way to go. In the past 30 years, he has also been comprehending the dragon elephant Tathagata Prajna Buddha body. This cultivation is easier than the 9 mysterious Dao realm. He reached the 6th level in the 20th year, and then reached the 7th level in the 80th year. As long as the 8th and 9th levels are completed, the dragon elephant Tathagata Prajna Buddha body will be completely formed. At that time, the number of dragons and elephants on his body will exceed the stars in the sky. And more than 100 years later, the 7th Dao, the Void Dao, was finally formed. The Void Dao comes from the heavenly Dao divine powers somersault cloud. The Void Dao is the most complicated, and Wu Yu also has insights from the tearing of the universe by the floating life sword. The universe is torn, and what is exposed inside is the void. The somersault cloud shuttles through the void, making it easier for Wu Yu to find the Void Dao. Of course, he is also on this avenue and has just left. The void contains infinite mysteries. It is like the opposite of the universe, and it is like something that carries the universe. Wu Yu is more willing to believe that there is the void first, and then the universe. The void is the root, and the universe is the color on it. The void is the mystery of nothingness, and there is nothing. The universe is the dazzling, prosperous and diverse. The way of the void is a profound way. It can be comprehended. It is indeed the hero among the immortals. This kind of ancient immortal pattern of the way makes Wu Yu more aware when performing the somersault cloud, and it is also a great help to the progress of the somersault cloud. He decomposed the immortal world core of the 4 realms immortal king, and the infinite power filled his body, causing the Bodhi immortal essence and the dragon elephant Buddha essence to continue to expand. He took a lot of Dao Yun Xian Dan, and his divine power was stronger. Now the 2 major methods have made great progress. Wu Yu thinks that although he still looks like a mysterious immortal realm, his real strength can also be considered to be able to keep up with the level of those immortal kings in Chang'an. Although, it is still at the bottom. After realizing this, more than a year had passed. Wu Yu came out of the Fushen Tower to take a breath. For a year, he hadn't contacted Luo Bin. He missed her, so he sent a communication talisman to ask about her current situation. Unexpectedly, the communication talisman was intercepted by someone as soon as it was sent out. He looked closely and found that it was Yun Mo. He had bad intentions and sneered, "Finally, I caught you. After more than a year, you finally couldn't help betraying us and wanted to tell others about our immortal king order. From the beginning, I saw that something was wrong with you." Wu Yu was stunned. He didn't expect that this guy was still staring at him. As soon as he finished speaking, he called Su Zidong and the others over. All 9 of them appeared in front of Wu Yu. Looking at their confused expressions, they didn't know what was going on. Yun Mo said, "Brothers and sisters, I have told you that this Wu Yu is not familiar with us. Even people from the Gu Mo world may harm us. Today we finally found the evidence. He wants to send out this message while you are practicing. Send me the immortal talisman and intercept it on the spot." This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Yun Mo said, feeling extremely proud, and gave the messenger talisman to Su Zidong. Everyone was shocked and looked at Wu Yu's face, a little confused. However, Su Zidong was calm. He opened the messenger talisman, took a closer look, and burst into laughter. Yunmo was confused. "Come on, take a look." Su Zidong passed it to Xuanhuan. Even Xuanhuan smiled after looking at it, and then continued to pass it on. After everyone read it, they all looked at Wu Yu with strange eyes. Su Zidong smiled and said, "It's not simple. There are beautiful women who are attracted to, envied, and envied. But I, Lao Su, hang out with a group of men every day. It's so sad." Yang Wenlin just finished reading, and she also chuckled, then glared at Su Zidong and said, "Boss, what are you talking about? Am I not a beautiful girl and fairy? Go, you are half a man," Qing Yuli said with a smile. Everyone was very relaxed after reading it. Yun Mo's face was stiff. He finally took the messenger talisman and saw the writing on it, "No contact for a while. I miss you very much. Qinyan Peak is shrouded in mist. Do you ever remember you and me? Anyway, this is a love letter." How is that possible? Yun Mo was convinced that Wu Yu had evil intentions, so he was very confident and didn't even look at it. How could he have expected that this would be the case? Then he is the one who is embarrassed now. Brother Yunmo seems to have some misunderstandings about me. However, I brought everyone out last time and proved myself. I didn't expect that Brother Yunmo would still target me like this. It's really chilling." Wu Yu said to him, "Get the messenger talisman back and send it out." In fact, Yun Mo is always like this. No matter how good-tempered Wu Yu is, he will still feel a little unhappy at this time. Su Zidong said sternly, "Yunmo, don't target Wu Yu anymore. The 8 of us all believe in Wu Yu's character. If you doubt him, you don't trust us. There is no point at all. The most important thing for us now is unity, not we are suspicious of each other. We at Gumoying have always gotten along with each other sincerely and convinced others with virtue. You are the last one to join us, but you should know something about us." Qin Chuan said, "Think about it carefully." Yun Mo looked depressed and a little angry, and said, "I'm just worried about everyone's safety, to prevent Xiao Xiao." Yang Wenlin said, "Okay, everyone knows about safety. No one is a fool. We all know how to look at people. You have a good heart, but Wu Yu has already proven himself and helped us." They knew in their minds whether Wu Yu would betray them or not. They thought they could tell that a person's eyes, movements, and demeanor would not deceive them. Okay, Yun Mo was obviously still unwilling. Especially after this incident, everyone seemed to favor Wu Yu, which made him a little unhappy. Su Zidong looked at Wu Yu at this time and said, "You have been practicing for more than a year, and you seem to have made some progress." Wu Yu nodded and said, "There are indeed some. You have a good talent, and you have made progress so quickly. Last time I seemed to vaguely see that you defeated a second world immortal lord, and your movements were very fast. I believe you can deal with a stronger opponent this time, right? Wu Yu was shocked. He didn't expect him to see it. However, it didn't matter, because the swallowing of the sky-swallowing beast was not something ordinary people could understand. Moreover, the battle was so urgent, so he shouldn't be able to see it clearly. After all, he was distracted. All may lose their lives. Wu Yu nodded and said, I have indeed become stronger. However, in this Chang'an heaven, it is still nothing. Almost all existences are stronger than me. Su Zidong said, in heaven, being able to kill people at a higher level shows that your talent is extraordinary. It seems that your talent is beyond our expectations. It is really lucky for the world of Gumo to have a genius like you. As a senior, it's our duty to protect you as you grow. It turned out that through observation, he valued himself so much. Boss, are you telling the truth? Others obviously didn't know much about Wu Yu's strength, but Wu Yu's method of escaping with them and his speed in the wilderness actually explained a lot. Although it seems to be in the realm of Xianxian, it is indeed very strong. The realm is Xianxian, but the power is not. I heard that there are some treasures that can conceal one's realm. Wu Yu, do you have any? Qin Chuan asked. Wu Yu nodded and said, to be honest with you, it does exist, but I am indeed a little behind. I haven't reached the realm Lord God realm yet. He didn't dare to say that he was still a 7-head mysterious immortal, so they would think he was a 9-head mysterious immortal. That's quite scary, Wu Xiao said. Yun Mo still couldn't help it, and said, you're just bragging, why don't you let us learn from each other? Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1338. He didn't quite believe that Wu Yu could fight the immortal lord of the second realm. Maybe Su Zidong got it wrong. And others don't really believe in Wu Yu's strength. After all, only the descendants of those top immortals can cross the realm. During this period, Yun Mo was still unhappy, especially just now. He thought he had caught Wu Yu, but he didn't expect that he would be taught a lesson. Before Wu Yu appeared, he was always taken care of in this team. However, because of this weird Wu Yu, he was scolded by his brothers. From the beginning, he had a gut feeling that something was wrong with Wu Yu. However, no one trusted him. This feeling made him very frustrated, especially today. In fact, there was already a fire in his stomach. Seeing the 8 brothers and Wu Yu bragging, he had a bad temper, but he couldn't help but say the word discuss. The reason is to give Wu Yu a sigh of relief and make Wu Yu fear him. Because Wu Yu obviously didn't fear him. A junior has no respect for him at all. It is even possible that this person wants to get that immortal king token. Yun Mo even thinks so. Otherwise, Wu Yu would not respect others, only him. When he said the word sparring, everyone was shocked. Yang Wenlin said quickly, it's better to say goodbye, so as not to hurt the harmony. Yun Mo had said all the words, and of course he would not back down, saying, Sister Yang, are you afraid that I will hurt him? Don't worry, I have a sense of discretion. The burly Jin Kaiwen said, I don't think it's appropriate. It's meaningless to bully the small. It was obvious that Yun Mo was still unrepentant and wanted to suppress Wu Yu to prove his authority. It's a totally pissed off move. Yun Mo has always had this temper, but Wu Yu showed up to support him, which made it even more obvious. Yi and others seemed to think it was unnecessary. They all knew that Yun Mo just wanted to teach Wu Yu a lesson. It's very good. Why is it bad? We are all brothers. It's normal to compare with each other. We have never seen Wu Yu himself. I said he is a genius. You may not believe it. You will know after this battle. Su Zidong suddenly he smiled. In that case, let's fight. If we go to my eldest brother's Daoshan Fairy City to fight, We won't make any noise, Xuanhuan also said coldly. In fact, he probably doesn't like Yun Mo very much, so it's a bit rude to say so at this time. Yun Mo repeatedly targeted Wu Yu, and these brothers and sisters were basically a little angry. Since they said so, and Yun Mo is always looking for trouble with himself, Wu Yu has just made great progress and is looking for someone to practice with. If someone comes to his door, he will not refuse. Even if he loses to Yun Mo, he will not be ashamed. To be honest, this guy's face has been disgusting from the beginning. This kind of person needs to be treated. Wu Yu then said, since everyone said so, I will ask Brother Yunmo for advice, and hope that Brother Yunmo can show mercy to me and abuse me lightly. Yun Mo didn't expect that he would dare to agree. This was exactly what he wanted. He felt that Wu Yu must confront him, so he smiled and said, don't worry, there are so many brothers and sisters protecting you, you can't hurt you. This sentence is also very sour. Su Zidong was the most interested in Wu Yu's strength. Without saying a word, he held out his creation artifact to Tian Immortal City and placed it in front of him, allowing Wu Yu and the two to enter. That monstrous fairy city is an immortal city, forged into an immortal artifact, and everything inside is still the same. When Wu Yu entered the world of this monstrous fairy city, it was like entering an immortal city. Although it was not particularly big, it was one battle would surely be enough. Yun Mo also entered instantly, and the two of them appeared in the Daoshan fairy city, while the 8 of them gathered around, as if they were watching two villains fighting. Boss, why did you agree? Yunmo will not be polite. Yang Wenlin was still a little worried. Su Zidong said, look, this guy Wu Yu came to Chang'anshan. I don't believe that his goal is not the Immortal King's order. How is it possible? He is still a Xianxian. It's normal for him to be capable and daring and want to try his luck, and the Taixu Immortal Road is indeed an opportunity for experience, so he wants to join us and follow us. Even if he gains an experience, that's his goal, Su Zidong guessed. This is so courageous. Su Zidong said, so, I guess he may have a certain level of strength. I mainly saw his creation fairy weapons that time. There are 2 kinds of them, and they are obviously from the same fairy, 1 sword and 1 tower, both of different grades. Very high, the sword is slightly weaker, but it is stronger than my Daoshan Immortal City, and he also has many life-saving skills. What does this mean? Xuanhuan said, I understand, it means that he may be the disciple and successor of a certain immortal king, and he is more blessed than us. Everyone finally understood. Of course, it may be the inheritance of a certain top existence. However, even so, the future is promising. We must not have the intention to cause harm. In this heaven, we have been around for so long, and we must know that there is no need to force what belongs to you, otherwise it will lead to death. Wu Yu is a very good person. It would be best if he could become a brother and friend. I really like him. He is calm enough and has a good temper. Not bad, and plenty of patience. Su Zidong said a lot. But, we don't have any extra Immortal King's order for him, Qing Yuli said. Su Zidong smiled and said, it depends on him. The Immortal King's order is too difficult. I guess he won't be able to stay for long, and he may have to go out to look for the Immortal King's order by himself. When the time comes, I'll help you if you can. Please help. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Yang Wenlin shook her head helplessly and said, that's what I say, but we may not be able to keep this Immortal King order. So, it depends on what he plans, Su Zidong said. Wu Yu is good, but Yun Mo is really too ignorant and lacks discipline. He has been with us for so long and has not changed much. With his temper, he will suffer big losses sooner or later, Xuanhuan said. Speaking of Yun Mo, everyone shook their heads. He was fine before, but especially this time when he came to Chang'an Tian, his mentality was unstable. After all, their team is not that strong. With 9 Immortal King tokens, it can only be said that they are very lucky. At this time, a battle had broken out in the Daoshan Immortal City. That Yunmo controlled the power of the Yunmo world on his body, and sacrificed the immortal weapon of creation Yungxian 900 swords. The power of the world controlled 900 white sword blades, flying on his body. The world of Yunmo expanded, and dark clouds suddenly swept across the world, completely opposite to Wu Yu's somersault clouds. The dark clouds were filled with black lightning, which was difficult to see clearly, but it was like a poisonous snake. What was even more terrifying was that he completely gathered the Yungxian 900 swords in this cloud world. For a moment, there was a murderous intent. Yun Mo sneered and said, "Don't think that I don't know what your purpose is. They can't see through you, but I can. If you dare to take advantage of our immortal king's order, I will make you pay the price sooner or later. Today, I will just accept it. You get some interest." Brother Yunmo really misunderstood me. This is unnecessary. Wu Yu was helpless, but since the other party had a certain intention to kill, Wu Yu would never be afraid of others in battle. First, he performed the immortal ape transformation, which greatly enhanced his physical strength. Then, the Dharma, heaven, elephant and earth transformed into a huge golden immortal ape in this monstrous immortal city. In his hands are the floating sword and the floating tower. Although the power of the Yunmo world is huge, in front of Wu Yu, he is already like an ant. What is this ability? The physical body, the terror is enhanced. The 8 people outside looked at each other. They began to believe what Su Zidong said. Wu Yu did have a top-level inheritance. Otherwise, the divine power of heaven would not be so mysterious. They were also looking at Wu Yu's creation artifact, and as expected, they were shocked. Snort. Yunmo's power to control the world swept over, and countless dark clouds suppressed Wu Yu. At this moment, Yungxian 900 swords, carrying a large amount of lightning and thunder, rushed in, and together with Yunmo's power of the world, suppressed Wu Yu. Break. He thought that Wu Yu would be severely injured all at once. Anyway, he knew that Su Zidong would definitely save Wu Yu, so he might as well fight to death. Let Wu Yu be truly scared. Wu Yu's eyes were blood red. Time changes speed. As soon as the floating tower came out, the surrounding world fell into time chaos. Suddenly, everything in the entire Yunmo world was distorted, including swords and lightning. The entire world seemed to be out of Yunmo's control and became twisted and fragmented. For Wu Yu, there were countless loopholes in this attack. Whoosh! Wu Yu changed his form and appeared behind Yun Mo. Flowing fire and empty mirror. This is a higher level magical power of the fiery eyes and golden eyes. At this time, Wu Yu's eyes suddenly transformed into flame mirrors, like 2 mirrors. The mirrors were instantly projected out, forming 2 huge ones in front of Yun Mo's eyes. A mirror burning with flames. Ding ding ding. Countless flame mirrors were connected together in a hexagonal shape, eventually forming a huge sphere, trapping Yun Mo within it. Yun Mo was distorted by time, and was in shock and depression. Suddenly, countless golden mirrors surrounded him, flames flashed, and suddenly, all the mirrors exploded. Countless golden fragments were like a violent storm, and those golden flames engulfed Yun Mo. Yunmo used the power of Yunmo world to resist in horror, but under the distortion of time, a large number of loopholes still appeared, allowing the magical power of flowing fire and sky mirror to riot and tear out a large number of scars. The Great Splitting Universe Formation. At this moment, Wu Yu suddenly appeared in the sky. He tore with a sword and shattered the space. The crack suddenly appeared above Yun Mo's head. When he was about to tear Yun Mo into 2 halves, Wu Yu suddenly stopped. At the end of the battle, Yun Mo's body was stiff, covered with blood stains, and mixed with cold sweat. Outside the Daoshan Fairy City, People looked at each other, and they all saw the surprise and admiration in each other's faces. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1339. It was not easy for Wu Yu to defeat Yun Mo. Basically, he had used all the skills he could. But at this moment, the 8 people from Gu Mo camp were stunned and astonished when they saw Wu Yu spare Yun Mo's life and defeat Yun Mo so easily. At first, they just wanted to see Wu Yu, so they secretly told Yun Mo not to use too much force, just to test Wu Yu. Who would have thought that Yun Mo would be defeated? It was simply unimaginable. So at this moment, they looked at each other, and the look in their eyes when they looked at Wu Yu from afar had changed. Without saying anything, everyone's thoughts were definitely similar. Su Zidong hurriedly drove them out of the creation immortal artifact Daoshan Immortal City. He forced a smile, patted Wu Yu on the shoulder, and said, "Awesome, I admire you. I said I felt that you have improved, but I didn't expect that you have improved to such a level. Even Yun Mo is not your opponent. With your current ability, it is more than enough for you to join our team and fight with us." Yang Wenlin laughed. This kid is pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger. He beat Yun Mo so hard that he has no temper at all. Haha. Everyone laughed, but they didn't know that Yun Mo's face was distorted. Every word was a stimulus to him. If there is another Immortal King order, let Wu Yu enter Taixu Immortal Road with us, and our overall combat effectiveness will be stronger. Before, I underestimated you, Qin Chuan said. The 8 of them now surrounded Wu Yu in the middle as if they had picked up a treasure and praised him. In fact, I like your character more than your strength. You are humble and calm, good at thinking, sincere, but you are not soft-hearted when fighting, Su Zidong said seriously. Thank you for the compliment, boss. This challenge was not initiated by Wu Yu, so it was nothing. At most, it was a test of Wu Yu's current strength. His realm of the 7th combination Xianxian is still quite stable. The blessing of the major magical powers allowed him to defeat the 4 realms' immortal lords, but even so, his strength is still at the bottom of the entire Chang'an heaven. Therefore, Wu Yu is still neither arrogant nor impatient. It is indeed a problem that he does not have the Immortal King order. Now that he finally has some strength, Wu Yu wants to tell them that he wants to go out alone to find the Immortal King order. If you like him so much, give him my Immortal King order, Yun Mo suddenly snorted coldly. He was still healing just now. At this time, he stood up and flew out after speaking, leaving the Immortal Inn. Come back, Su Zidong shouted. However, Yun Mo did not look back and left directly, disappearing in front of everyone in the blink of an eye. This kid is becoming more and more disrespectful to his elders. I've said it before, he has a bad temper and is not suitable for us, Qin Chuan said. Su Zidong shook his head and said, compared to us, he is still too young. Let's talk to him after he goes out to calm down and comes back. Jin Kevin said, after all, he has been with the 9th brother for 1,000 years. Although the 9th brother sometimes can't think clearly, he is not bad. Qin Chuan didn't like him very much, but the other brothers still had feelings for Yun Mo, so they didn't drive Yun Mo away. However, Qin Chuan said, I think he feels so ashamed this time, I'm afraid he won't come back easily. Yang Wenlin said, you overestimate him. The Immortal King order is still in the hands of the eldest brother. He wants to enter the Taixu Immortal Road. Will he come back? That's right. They just thought Yun Mo was a rebellious little brother in his bones, and didn't investigate further. After all, they were more curious about Wu Yu now. Compared with Yun Mo, Wu Yu is obviously excellent in all aspects. Wu Yu thought about it and decided that there was still a lot of time. He should adjust for a while, make what he learned more thorough, or become stronger, and then go find the Immortal King order himself. After all, if the assassin from the Immortal Killing Palace still locked onto him, it would be troublesome. Who knows if the other party will have stronger helpers. Here, Su Zidong and his group of 6 realm immortal lords and 7th level immortal lords are protecting them. They have plenty of money and live in this relatively safe immortal inn. There is nothing wrong for the time being. But as time passed, Su Zidong and his group became depressed. Yun Mo, why haven't you come back yet? Could there be an accident outside? He wouldn't be so stupid as to leave Xuanhuan Xiancheng. That's definitely impossible. In Xuanhuan Xiancheng, he should know to be careful, but his strength is relatively weak. If someone assassinates him, it would really be. Su Zidong was a little melancholy and said, "It's all my fault. I didn't take good care of his emotions. You stay here, I'll go out to find him." Wu Xiao, Huangfu Yujun, and others all expressed their willingness to act with Su Zidong. Suddenly, Yun Mo walked in from outside with a sneer on his face, saying, "No need to look for me, I'm fine, I'm back to settle accounts with you." His face was extremely gloomy. Seeing his smug look, Wu Yu knew that something was wrong. Obviously, Su Zidong and the others still underestimated Yun Mo's vindictive character. Qin Chuan saw it very accurately. Yun Mo was indeed an outlier among them. "What do you mean?" Yang Wenlin was a little confused and said, "Ninth brother, you want to settle accounts with us? It's just an ordinary exchange. How can a grown man be so petty? You have been with us for 1,000 years. We have fought side by side. How many dangers have we experienced? How much joy have we had? You come to settle accounts with us? Did I hear you correctly?" Everyone was stunned. How petty must a person be to say such a thing? Haha, stop pretending in front of me. I'm disgusted by you guys. Aren't you going to leave the Immortal King order to Wu Yu? Very well, then no one should think about entering Taixu Immortal Road, Yun Mo laughed coldly. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. At this time, behind him, an old man in green appeared. The old man in green had white hair and a cold face, which was extremely scary. After him, a group of people also followed into the Immortal Inn. They were obviously brought in by Yun Mo. Qinglian Immortal King. Su Zidong and others took a breath. Yun Mo actually brought Qinglian Immortal King, his disciples, and others here. Now, all of them are exposed in front of Qinglian Immortal King. Yun Mo smiled and said, "Hand over the Immortal King order, I see if you dare to laugh at me." But who laughed at him? In short, Wu Yu also felt that this guy really had a problem with his brain. He had been targeting him all the way, and then he took the initiative to provoke him. After being defeated by him, he actually did such a thing. He was simply an ungrateful wolf. Su Zidong was furious and said, "I didn't expect you, Yun Mo, to be such an ungrateful person. If I had known this day, why would I have saved you from the water and fire?" Yun Mo smiled and said, "You, Su Zidong, just want to form a gang and have more helpers. Do you want to move me with benevolence?" Yang Wenlin said angrily, "You are wrong. We gather together, just like relatives and brothers. In this vast heaven, we help each other and advance and retreat together. However, it is indeed our mistake to let you join us. You are a jackal. If you treat it with a sinister heart, it is naturally mean." The 8 of them were so angry that they were betrayed by their own people, and it was the youngest brother. Everyone usually took good care of him. Unexpectedly, he was just a little wronged, but he was so ruthless and ungrateful. "Okay, stop talking. Hand over the 9 Immortal King orders and I won't hurt you." The Immortal King Qinglian brought Qingyi Immortal Lord and others. He brushed his long beard and said coldly. Yun Mo smiled and said, "Immortal King, Don't forget to leave me an immortal king order, this should be Yunmo's condition. Haha. The immortal king Qinglian was right beside him. The old man suddenly laughed and suddenly slapped Yunmo's head. Yunmo immediately bled from all 7 orifices. In an instant, his eyes widened and he died on the spot. He was afraid that he would never think that the immortal king Qinglian would do this and suddenly kill him. Yunmo, Gu Moying and others were shocked again. They didn't expect that their brother who had been with them for thousands of years would die like this. The immortal king Qinglian sneered and said, "I'm sorry, I also hate betrayers the most, so I helped you solve it by the way. Is it refreshing?" He and the disciples behind him all laughed. Then, the immortal king Qinglian put away his smile and said coldly, "He is your role model. I only ask for the immortal king order. If you don't give it to me, this will be your fate. Don't worry, I, the immortal king Qinglian, will not make any noise in this Xuanhuan immortal city if I kill all of you. The divine sound emperor immortal will not lock me. Taixu immortal realm is above the realm of the realm lord. It is so easy to kill Yunmo, and it will be extremely easy to kill Wu Yu and others." Su Zidong and others looked at Yunmo's body with dull faces, but it is obvious that there must be something hateful about pitiful people. But now, what should be considered is not Yunmo's affairs, but if the immortal king order is not handed over, everyone will die directly. A fight to the death? Make a noise, Qin Chuan secretly said to Su Zidong. Su Zidong said, "No, although the other party may not get the immortal king order, and will be locked by the divine sound emperor immortal, but we will all die. We work so hard to get the immortal king order, and they are so cheap." Qin Chuan was unwilling. But at least they are still alive. After all, they are facing the Taixu fairyland. Now, the tension has reached its extreme. The patience of the immortal king Qinglian is not long. If they still don't hand it over in a short time, he will obviously take action. "Don't make me wait too long," the old man in green said with a smile. Qingyi immortal king said, "Everyone, accept your fate. You are too weak, and this doesn't belong to you. Why lose your life in vain for the immortal king order?" They all laughed. They didn't take action to rob directly, because they were afraid that Wu Yu and others would be in trouble and make a noise, so they chose to die together. Of course, they also believed that Su Zidong and others would not be so stupid. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 1340. Please ask the immortal king to let us discuss the 30-breath period. Su Zidong bowed. Forget it. Qinglian immortal king established his power by killing people. He killed Su Zidong and others with ease, so he was indeed sure of victory. With his status as immortal king, it is easy to obtain several immortal king orders for his disciples. Everyone hurriedly gathered around. Su Zidong looked gloomy and said, "Immortal king order, we can come back in 5,000 years. After all, we have not reached the level of the 9 realms immortal lord, there is no need to waste our lives now. Yes, although this time, we were extremely lucky and got enough immortal king tokens out of nowhere, but we are not strong enough. Even if we lose them, it is normal," Qing Yuli said helplessly. Yi gritted his teeth, a little unwilling, but still had no objection. Yunmo's death had brought a huge blow to everyone, and now they could only surrender. Wu Yu was on the side, thinking and weighing. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "Everyone, this matter started because of me. Without me, Yunmo would not have left. I have a way to take risks. I don't know, are you willing to try with me? If it goes well, you can keep the immortal king order." "You? Is he the immortal king?" Everyone spoke very quickly, and it was obvious that the Qinglian immortal king's patience was disappearing. Wu Yu said, "You can try it?" Everyone was shocked. They knew that Wu Yu would not mess around, but if they agreed to Wu Yu's words, they would be leaving their life and death to Wu Yu. That would be absolutely thrilling. Of course Wu Yu was not willing to accept that the 9 Immortal King tokens had given them an advantage in this way. Therefore, even if it meant death, he had to give it a try. At worst, if the Qinglian Immortal King really wants to kill him, he will try to use the Immortal Dragon Emperor Realm's Immortal Spirit Realm Dragon King to protect himself. With his character, it is indeed difficult for him to hand over the treasure he has obtained. But the key is to see whether Su Zidong and the others have the courage to believe in themselves. Moreover, there is not much time to hesitate. The eyes of Su Zidong and Wu Yu collided once. He saw that there was quite strong belief in Wu Yu's eyes. This is a kind of intuition, this kind of directness, which makes Su Zidong ignore the opinions of others and say directly, "Okay, right away." Wu Yu got the permission and immediately became excited and enthusiastic. "Now that the 30-breath time is about to come," he said, "when I count to 3, everyone will instantly enter my floating tower. I have a way to take everyone out." Good. The time is coming. How do you choose between death and immortality? Over there at the door, Immortal Lord Qingyi couldn't wait any longer. Originally they only needed 3, but now that the Immortal King has come forward, they will definitely take them all, and a few more can be given away. 3. Just as he was speaking, Wu Yu counted from 1 to 3, and he suddenly opened the floating life tower. The 8 people who were close at hand entered instantly and were protected by Wu Yu. He, a mysterious immortal, faced the Immortal King like this. It's really scary. Don't get excited, everyone. I have the Immortal King's order in my hand. I'll give it to you. The expressions of the other party's Green Lotus Immortal King and others changed, and they were about to take action. Wu Yu said quickly. He was just a Xianxian, so he really didn't pose a threat at all. The other party couldn't see what methods he could use, so he was a little surprised, but there was something wrong when he thought that Su Zidong and the others actually hid in the fairy weapon. The Qinglian Immortal King still wanted to take action. Wu Yu knew that they had a power called Tianqi, which was extremely terrifying. But when Wu Yu himself spoke, he was also ready. The speed at which he could use his heavenly power could be said to be quite fast. Moreover, Qinglian Immortal King didn't quite believe that Su Zidong and the others had the courage to seek death, so he hesitated a little bit. Outlaw clone. Suddenly, Wu Yu used extra-legal clones. This time he went crazy and directly transformed into 100,000 clones. 100,000 clones, everyone's immortal clones, not only filled the entire courtyard, but even overflowed. Su Zidong had already dispelled the immortal formation in the courtyard at this time. Wu Yu's clones exploded with a bang. From a distance, the immortal inn was instantly filled with 100,000 Wu Yes. Walk. Covered by 100,000 clones, Wu Yu instantly escaped with a somersault cloud. The 100,000 clones were squeezed between them and the Qinglian Immortal King. At this moment, the Qinglian Immortal King did not expect that a mysterious immortal could have such a strange ability, and he was still a little unable to react for a while. The key is. This is already making a huge noise. The first thought of Qinglian Immortal King was not to chase Wu Yu, but to escape. Otherwise, if the Divine Music Emperor targets him, even he will die. Crazy. Now he only has this thought, and even he, the Qinglian Immortal King, will be scared at this time. Because, in these 9 immortal cities, almost every time, an immortal king was killed for making trouble here. Wu Yu's movement was not particularly loud, nor did it cause any damage, but the sudden appearance of these 100,000 clones was quite spectacular. The Qinglian Immortal King had no choice but to escape due to the accident. Otherwise, if he tried to intercept him, Wu Yu might not be able to leave with somersault clouds. You are all dead. Qinglian Immortal King simply couldn't understand why Wu Yu wanted to die to resist. There was no need for them at all. He almost saw that Su Zidong and the others should have given up. Before Wu Yu took action, none of them noticed Wu Yu. In the eyes of Qinglian Immortal King, they were doomed anyway, but unfortunately, his disciples couldn't escape as fast as him, so they might also be doomed. Sick, Qinglian Immortal King could only think so. He felt that the Divine Sound Emperor was definitely coming. It was a threat of death. He was disguising and hiding at his limit. At this moment, Wu Yu had already appeared in a far enough place with the somersault cloud. But he knew that even with the somersault cloud's ability to shuttle through the void, it was difficult to avoid the Emperor Immortal. So in the next moment, when he appeared in another place, he used the skills of the sky-devouring beast to transform into the four realms Immortal King he devoured that day, and quickly mixed into the crowd. This was Wu Yu's ultimate means this time, because the Eternal Emperor Immortal was extremely terrifying, and he was afraid that even the somersault cloud would be exposed, but he had great confidence in the simulation. One simulation allowed him to completely transform into that Immortal King, without any trace of Wu Yu. He was far away from there, but his clones were still there. At this time, he quickly withdrew all the clones, and everything was extinguished and returned to formlessness. At the last moment, his clones all felt the crisis of death, and then saw that Qingyi Immortal Lord and others who had not yet reacted were probably exposed to the eyes of the Eternal Emperor Immortal. I just don't know if the Qinglian Immortal King can escape. Wu Yu was actually very nervous. He was playing with fire, so he was uneasy for a while. He tried his best to mix in the group of immortals and maintain a normal attitude. There were hundreds of millions of immortals in the Xuanhuan Immortal City, and everything about him had changed. He believed that the Xuanhuan Emperor Immortal should not be able to find him. This gamble was indeed thrilling, but if he could keep the Immortal King order, Yun Mo would have died, and he should be able to have an Immortal King order. This is the pursuit of wealth and honor in danger. Time passed bit by bit. 3 days later, news came that a group of people from King Liantian were killed by Xuanhuan Emperor Xian, and their bodies could be seen somewhere in the city. Wu Yu asked around and found that there was no Qinglian Immortal King. It seemed that Yongsheng Emperor Xian was not particularly strict. Maybe he saw Qinglian Immortal King, but after all, Qinglian Immortal King was also a talent of the heavenly court. If he really wanted to kill him, he would have to make a big noise. However, the effect of killing the chicken to scare the monkey has come out. This matter quickly spread throughout Xuanhuan Xiancheng. For a time, everyone was in danger, and many people who wanted to take action were scared and hid. And Xuanhuan Emperor Xian and his people wanted this effect. Once such an incident happened in the entire Xuanhuan Xiancheng, it would be quiet for more than a year. The Xuanhuan Emperor Xian will not be so idle. Now that time has passed, he will definitely not lock us again. After all, the statute of limitations for punishment has passed, and now the punishment has no effect. But we still have to be careful. Wu Yu said to the people in the Fusion Tower. To be honest, Su Zidong and the others were really scared by Wu Yu's crazy behavior. Now that the storm has gradually passed, Su Zidong decided to change to another fairy city. As long as we go to the next fairy city, Xuanhuan Fairy City will not be able to control us. And he has forgotten it long ago. Then let's return to Xuan'an Fairy City. Although Qinglian Fairy King is not dead, his disciples are all dead now. He may not need to snatch our Fairy King order again. At least in the Fairy City, he dare not take action. I'm afraid he has been warned. But maybe 100 years later, when you come out of Taixu Fairy Road, you should be more careful. After all, you are worried that he will retaliate against you. Su Zidong smiled and said, then don't worry. By then, the heavenly court is so huge, and we are all unknown people. It will be difficult for him to find us if we just stay in seclusion for thousands of years. They are quite courageous. Of course, the heavenly court is really big. It is too difficult to find people except for the network like the Luxian Palace. The reason why the Immortal Slaughter Palace could find Wu Yu here was because Tianming knew that Wu Yu should be in Chong'anshan. This time, Wu Yu went to Shen'an Immortal City alone. After he left Chennai Immortal City, he went a long way and changed into his own appearance. Now he is powerful. When he becomes smaller and faster according to the law of heaven and earth, he is not worried about being killed suddenly when he is in the wild this time. After all, he has the strength to barely keep up with the whole Chong'anchen strongmen. When Wu Yu returned to Shen'an Immortal City and settled down in one of the countless immortal inns here, Su Zidong and the others could finally come out. The look in their eyes when they looked at Wu Yu was completely different. Su Zidong smiled and said, "I won't say anything extra. Since Yun Mo has made his own choice, there is nothing to regret. From now on, our 9th Immortal King Order will belong to you. Wu Yu, are you willing to enter the Taixu Immortal Road with us 19 years later?" Wu Yu was overjoyed and said, "Of course. Immortal King Order, it's done."